University. I'm Elizabeth Bernhard, Partnership Engagement Manager with Youth Solutions, the statewide nonprofit inspiring and connecting youth to achieve a future beyond imagination. Today's event is being recorded, and specialists are broadcasting today's discussion to their youth in their classrooms. Throughout the event, please use the chat feature to ask any questions you have throughout the session, and feel free to unmute yourself near the end during our Q&A so you can ask questions personally. In the last few minutes of today's event, we'll be holding a prize drawing for two $25 Amazon gift cards. If you are a young person and you wish to participate, please take this time to enter your name into the chat box below. Specialists, if you are broadcasting this event to your classroom, please enter the names of your students who wish to participate. At the end of the event, we will randomly select two names. With that, it is my great pleasure to introduce Michael Hartman, Assistant Director of Transfer Initiatives and Partnerships with the University of Michigan. Michael is a graduate of Kalamazoo College, George Mason University, and Wayne State University, and Michael is a historian. Michael, welcome, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, well, thank you so much for inviting me to chat with all of you today. What I would like to do is, spend a few moments with you this morning chatting about the transfer process for students, focusing a little bit on LSA, but talking in general. So as students think about where they may want to transfer, or if maybe transfer leaving high school and going to a community college and then transferring to a four-year university is their path, about how we can all work together to help them get to where they want to be, whether it's U of M, whether it's another one of the four-year universities in the state. We work with a lot of students in regard to, through some of our programs, in helping to explore this. So I want to spend a little bit of time this morning sort of just introducing you to you how we talk to students about that. And I'm going to share my screen in just a minute, but just an introduction about who I am and what I do. So I am Assistant Director of LSA Student Recruitment for Transfer Initiatives and Partnerships, which means I direct the transfer recruitment efforts for the College of Literature, Science, and Arts at the University of Michigan. So LSA is the largest of the undergraduate units at the University of Michigan, comprising right around 19,000 of the 27,000 undergraduates, all of the natural science, humanities, and social science majors, oldest of the colleges, schools and colleges at the university. And we like to think of ourselves as really the core of the university. We are the liberal arts school. And so I direct the transfer recruitment efforts there, which means we do a lot of outreach. My team does a lot of outreach to Michigan community colleges. And so we work with a lot of students hopefully from the time they start thinking about transferring to the time that they get here and then graduate successfully. And then another thing that I do is I direct the operations of the LSA Transfer Student Center. And this is a physical space on campus for our transfer students, just opened last January. It was open for a brief couple months before everything closed down. So we're excited about getting that reopened in the fall. So we have our transfer students have a space on campus. Now, before launching into just a brief word about what the transfer environment is like in LSA. LSA actually brings in roughly 1,200 transfer students every year. So that's about 20% of every year, 20% of our incoming students are transfer students. So students transferring in is not an unusual pathway for students to take. So if you are working with students who are thinking maybe that's what they want to do, you can let them know this is something that a lot of our students do, and so they wouldn't be unusual. And many of the other four-year schools in the state, they have an even higher percentage of the class of their students are transferred. So it's not an unusual path. Now I'm going to share my screen, hopefully. All right. And I'm looking for the standard nod that people can see my okay. It seems like we would all have something where we'd automatically go like that when someone says they're going to share their screen, right? Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today are the following, and these are based on guides that we've developed for some students in some of our programs, and just in general, how we talk to students about transferring. And so as you're thinking about transferring, these are some of the key things that you should be thinking about. And I'll focus a little bit on LSA and U of M on some of these, but these are applicable to wherever you think you might want to transfer. And so what we'll talk about is understanding transfer credits, because that's really important, right? You want to make sure that the credits you're taking from one institution will transfer to another, that they'll transfer in a way that helps you complete your degree on time. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about finding your transfer champions. We are big on this because we know that nobody can do this alone. Well, I guess some people can do it alone. It's best if you try not to do it alone. I'll put it that way. And actually, one of my colleagues who works in the transfer team, Justin Villanueva, who was actually a transfer student to U of M when he was an undergrad, he calls it finding his fan club. And so he does this really cool presentation on how through his life as a non-traditional transfer student who transferred to the university when he was 34 to complete his degree, how he found his fan club. So if you want to think about transfer champions or finding your fan club, we'll talk a little bit about finding those people who are really going to help you get to where you want to be. Then we'll talk about making a transfer plan because it does take some planning. Things just don't happen. And so as you think about transfer credit, as you think about your champion or your fan club, then those are the people who are going to help you make your plan, okay? And then we'll talk about the ever important financial aid because we all want to know how we're going to afford to complete our degree. And we'll talk a little bit about how that works at the University of Michigan and then overall in terms of financial aid. And then we'll end with just a few actionable steps that you can take after today to begin to make your transfer plan. All right, now, transfer credit. Transfer credit's really important. It's a really important thing to understand. And it's not always presented in the clearest way by many schools, and I'm including the University of Michigan in that. And so it's important to understand how you can figure this out, okay? And this is another one of those reasons why it's important to have your transfer champions too, is because you can go to somebody at your current school and an advisor, a counselor, a professor, a teacher, and just say, hey, can you help me figure this out? A lot of times if students at community colleges, individual advisors or counselors will have a pretty good grasp on how to figure out transfer credit, so you don't have to go it alone. But every school, every four-year school in the state has transfer credit equivalencies posted on their website. And some of them have more extensive guides than other and how that can fit into different degree requirements or different majors and things like that. So you want to make sure that you understand that. So I'm just going to show what it looks like at the University of Michigan. Oh, hold on. I think I just lost my screen. Oh, I can't. There we go. Oh, sorry about this. My combination of my cursor disappearing and other things. Okay, hold on. Every time I want to click on something, my cursor disappears. Okay. All right, now can you see the transfer credit guide with undergraduate admissions? Okay, so for the University of Michigan, we have a transfer credit guide. I'm just going to show this real quick. I'll just choose Lake Michigan College because of the Benton Harbor connection. Okay, so this is our transfer guide. So this shows every credit, every class that anybody's ever tried to transfer, okay? And all four-year schools have this. So at the very least, you can look up a class to check if it's going to transfer or not. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through this just because it can be a pretty detailed explanation, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like for University of Michigan, and so that you know that this exists at other schools and colleges. And then in addition to that, oftentimes schools will have transfer guides that show how those individual courses fit into degree requirements. So for LSA, for example, Um, we have our community college transfer guide, so you can look up for any community college in the state, wherever you're attending classes, you can look up and see how the credits will transfer. Okay, so if we choose Delta College, for example, and then this just shows you exactly how those fit into actual degree requirements. Okay, and so every school has something analogous to those. Grand Valley has these really amazing transfer guides that show you semester by grade, by majors, what you should be transferring, what you should be taking and things of that sort. Okay, and so I just wanted to show you those just so you know what is available to you in terms of exploring how transfer credits work. Okay, but the important thing is to know what's going to transfer. Okay, so how do I know the classes I'm going to take are going to count towards the degree I want to earn in another school? And then how are those going to fit into the actual major that I want? So let's say you want to do an engineering program. Well, that's going to be different courses that you will need to take before transferring than if you want to go somewhere and major in English. Or if you want to go somewhere and major in sociology. So you want to make sure you understand how transfer credits will transfer and how they can count for your degree requirements. And that's where your transfer champions can come into play a significant role in helping you with all this. Okay, now your transfer champions can be a lot of different people. Not everybody has the same group of, the same support system in their life. So I listed a bunch of people or identities up here. You can have, depending on who you are and what relationships you have with people in your schools or things like that, you may work with people in different ways, but really find the people who can help you. Okay, and that help can come from helping you navigate those transfer guides and figure out what's going to transfer. Those people can be at your current school, they can be people in your community, they can be people at the schools that you're transferring to. And I highly recommend that you try to find transfer champions at the schools that you're exploring to transfer into. Okay, and that's because they are the experts in their curriculum. And so that's what we do in our office in LSA Student Recruitment. We have myself and 3 transfer recruiting coordinators. We have individual appointments with students all day long, every day of the week, in helping them make these plans. Because we want to make sure if a student says, hey, I think I might want to transfer to U of M and major in one of the LSA degrees, we want to make sure as soon as possible that we are helping them get there. And so we will be your transfer champion from that end. You also have those people at your previous institution who can help you make those transfer plans. And so again, those are just the people who are really going to help you get to where you want to be. Now, as you make that transfer plan, some of the things to think about are your research and preparation, how to actually explore and learn that this is a right place for you, and then the application process. Learning that a place is the right place for you is really important. Okay, there's a lot in names of programs and things of that sort, but if you transfer somewhere where you end up not being comfortable because you didn't really explore it fully, that's not going to lead to a good outcome for you. So in LSA specifically, we talk with students all the time about making sure that LSA is the right choice for them, and that comes from having the right majors, having the right environment for them, having the right housing situation, the cost, and all of that goes together to create a great student experience. We don't want to try to talk students into coming to LSA if it's not going to be a good experience to them, because our goal is that more transfer students can successfully complete their college degree, their bachelor's degree, and particularly community college students. And if that means that it's a better fit for them somewhere else, we're happy to help you as you make these transfer plans, even if you end up not coming to LSA. We'll help you with all this type of planning. And we do that in several of our programs. We have some formal programs with Henry Ford College and Grand Rapids Community College, where we work with the students throughout their process of searching for the programs that they want. And we'll work with students who are interested in applying to other schools. And we always recommend to students too that you want to choose multiple schools that you're going to pursue to finish your bachelor's degree at if you are starting in community college. Okay. Now, The making a transfer plan involves everything that's up there on the screen. So you want to think about what are you excited about in transferring? What do you hope to do by completing your bachelor's degree after starting at a community college? And that can be any number of things for you, okay? The excitement of earning your bachelor's degree, the excitement of maybe being the first one in your family to ever earn a bachelor's degree, the excitement of developing a set of skills that's going to help you succeed in an area of business or law or medicine or whatever you choose to do, or social services, whatever you choose to do after you graduate. Think about what you're excited about doing, and use that to identify universities that that you want to apply to. Now, the 3 universities that's on the screen there, that is taken from our outreach efforts that we do at GRCC. The sort of plan that we work with students there is helping them identify the 3 schools that they want to apply to. You could apply to more, but just do some research, just to hone down. Don't think, oh, I'll just apply to all 14 four-year schools in the state or something like that, and see how it goes from there. It'd be most useful to you to identify those schools. And that can be based on majors and minors of interest, co-curriculars and student orgs, your financial aid, the climate, deadlines, where the location is in housing. I've met several students who, would have liked to have come to Ann Arbor, but, they have kids in school. And so it makes more sense to them to go to Northern if they live in the UP or things like that. And so that's something that all of those things put together are what can help you identify the schools that you want to apply to. Then after you've come up with a list of, based on all of those things that are important to you and what make you excited, then you want to get to know the school. And I sort of used a little catchphrase there, get to know more than the brochure. Really go to schools. Don't rely on brochures and things like that as much as possible. And that's why this can take some planning. If you are, our application deadline is February 1st for the fall. If you decide in January that you want to apply to LSA, or you might want to apply, that might not lead you enough time to actually visit campus, particularly if we get some of those Michigan snowstorms and things like that in January, then you may not be able to get here. So it takes some planning. And know that as you explore schools, as you talk to people, you're not committing yourself to anything. So don't feel like, oh, if I go there and I take someone's time to give me a campus tour, they're going to think I have to apply and I'm going to be committed. You don't have to worry about that. So you may go visit a school, have that one experience on campus and kind of be like, wasn't really for me. I think I'm going to look at some other places. And that's why you want to give yourself lots of time to plan out this transfer. Okay, so you have time to visit schools in different times of the year, maybe go back to some schools if you get to a list of 3 or 4 that you really like and you want to return and visit them, or visit for different purposes. For LSA, for example, we have a whole bunch of different kinds of visit days over the course of a year. Now, obviously not over the last year and a half, but coming up in the fall, we'll start to have on-campus visits. So we have just general visit days. We have some visit days that are focused on specific majors. So we'll have one that's focused on students interested in humanities and social science majors, another day for students interested in science majors and things like that. And so you may be able to come to campus multiple times. You may have friends that are already on campus, which would give you a chance to hang out with them and get more of the informal introduction to the campus to learn more about what the student life is really like. But we definitely recommend that you do visit campuses, that you talk with current students. We have our transfer student ambassadors who are current LSA students who all transferred, and we're doing a panel on is that Thursday? That's Thursday, right? The 6th. And so three of our ambassadors who transferred from Michigan Community College to LSA are going to be doing a panel, so you can learn more from them about what that experience was really like. And that's important. You can also seek out students with shared identities to your own, not just maybe just being a transfer student, but students with other identities. If you want to learn more about how you would fit into the campus climate, you can reach out to those groups of students to learn more about that. You can reach out to faculty and advisors. I know in LSA, most of our departments will meet with prospective transfer students. And so you can just reach out to them and just say, hey, can I come, I'm going to be on campus. Can I sit down and meet with somebody to learn more about their major? Many faculty members at LSA will talk with prospective transfer students, and we can always help set that up. But that's something to look at, just because, your overall fit for a university is going to be, all the personal things like the co-curriculars and your place on campus and stuff like that. But your relationship with your faculty members in your courses are going to be really important. And so it's a good idea to understand how you fit with the faculty. And so if at all possible, see if you can sit in on classes. That's always a great way to see, so you can see more of what the actual coursework is going to be. Coming from a Michigan community college to a large research university can be a challenge sometimes, just because of the size of the school. Although 93% of our classes have less than 50 students, so we're not all large lecture halls. It's still a larger setting. And so getting to know faculty, talk with faculty before you make a decision can help you decide whether coming to a large research university is the right choice for you. Okay. And so do all that, and then understand the application process. Every school has different applications. And so for us, because we're a selective university, we have our admissions requirements are at the bare minimum 3.0 GPA. Most of our competitive applicants have a 3.5 or higher, but we do a holistic review of your application. And what that means is it takes into account all of your academic record. If you're finishing your associate's degree, then that will be based, or if you're close to finishing your associate's degree, that will be based almost solely on your college coursework and not your high school record. You'll still have to submit your high school transcripts just to demonstrate that you have a high school degree, or a GED requirements if you didn't complete a high school diploma but you did your GED. And then admissions will look at your overall coursework in terms of how you did, if you took courses that were in a variety of different areas, if you made some progress towards your major. However, in LSA, we don't have specific requirements that you have to complete before you transfer. It's just more of, have you followed a path that a student would typically take if they're an LSA student in your first couple of years, meaning you explored your majors, took courses in the things that you're interested in, and then also took some of our general degree requirements like humanities, natural science, social science, maybe if the first year writing at your school and things of that sort. Okay, so that's what for applying to LSA, that's what you would need to know. If you at other schools, they may require other things, different kinds of writing. We also we have 4 essays as part of our application. Another reason to get started early. I know that seems daunting, but we really want to make sure that we are getting to know you as a student. And so maybe if you had a rough start to college and left and then came back and are now doing great, but your GPA is in that lower range of that, right near 3.0 or so, your essays telling about your life path and why this is why you're transferring, and maybe why those grades a while back were not so great, but now why are you doing so well now? That your essays are your chance to tell your story. So your essays are really an opportunity. They're not meant to be a barrier, but they're an opportunity for you to tell your story to the admissions counselors who are reading your essays. Okay, so understanding all of that and understanding what the application process is really important, and understand that early. You don't have to apply 6 months before the deadline, but 6 months before the deadline, it's a good idea to understand what you will have to do to apply. Okay, our letters of recommendation required how many essays and things of that sort, just because what kinds of transcripts do I have to get in, just because we do have students unfortunately, fairly frequently, who right at the deadline will say, I didn't know I had to do that, just because they didn't plan ahead. So like I said, you don't have to get things in 6 months before the deadline, but understanding well in advance what you need to do to apply is really important. So planning ahead for all of this is sort of the key takeaway of today's transfer plan. Okay. Now, financial aid, another important piece is the financial aid and understanding how much it's going to cost you to go to the schools that you're looking at. And it's a little bit about understand. I want to just mention net cost, and net cost means how much is the sticker price stated on the websites minus the financial aid that you're going to receive, and that's your net cost of attendance. And so University of Michigan, for example, has the Go Blue Guarantee, which is for all in-state students who have family incomes below $65,000 and net assets below $50,000 are guaranteed a full tuition scholarship if they're admitted. Okay, and that's for all Michigan residents. And in addition to that full tuition scholarship, students who receive that typically get additional financial aid to help offset the cost of housing, food, books, miscellaneous expenses. So when I talk about net cost for students with financial need, meaning students who are maybe receiving a Pell Grant, the University of Michigan is typically the cheapest place to go in the state to finish your degree because of all the financial aid that we offer. And now to apply for financial aid, you need to understand financial aid at the institutions that you're applying to, which are, you have to complete the FAFSA and this, at all schools, and then the CSS profile, which we require, and then some private schools require that too. And so getting those in early will make sure that you get your financial aid award and you can understand how financial aid works. And I didn't time this out, so I'm rushing through it, Elizabeth. I'll get you there. So you know, the next steps that you could take is make your transfer plan. If you are interested in LSA, your next step should be to email me, and we can set up an appointment and we can chat about your plans, and we can help you develop that plan to make sure that you're effectively preparing to transfer to LSA if that's what you're interested in. And then also you can explore the LSA Transfer Student site, Transfer Student Center site, where it has all the information about being a transfer student, resources, different ways to connect with people and things of that sort. Okay.
Thank you, Michael. There's a
You're
question
welcome.
in the chat. Does the Go Blue Guarantee apply to non-traditional students? For instance, someone who graduated 4 to 5 years ago?
Yes. Yeah. So all of our financial aid is available to everybody. So we don't have, well, I'll say that there's a very small number of scholarships that are only available for first year, but that's like 20 scholarships. Everything else is available to transfer students, to students at any point in their career. So if you are admitted, you will be fully, as a Michigan resident, you'll be awarded all the financial aid that you're eligible for, wherever you are in your career.
Great, thank you. And we are at time, so I wanted to thank you again, Michael, for joining us today and for giving us such a great overview of the transfer process and how to go about doing so. As a reminder, we have an event scheduled for this Thursday, same time, 10:30 to 11, where Michael will be bringing a panel of current students at U of M who started off at a community college and followed this process themselves. So please join us, please spread the word and come with your questions. Michael, is there anything you'd like to say before we close out?
No, thank you for the time. And if anybody, not just students, but anybody else who's here today, if you have any questions about this, just email me and I set up a time to chat about how you work with students and how we can help you in your work with students.
Great. Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks everyone for joining us. See you next time.